Sometimes you just need to drop everything and run away to New York City for a weekend. Hello friends from Merry Manhattan. I'm here for a whirlwind weekend of adventures and we are going to have a lot of fun. First reason I'm here is because M&J Trimming, one of the icons of the New York garment district, is sadly closing. And when I found out, I went, oh no, the laundry list of items I was going to buy next time I was in town. Guess I better go. So I am here from Friday till midday Monday, and I am packing in as much as I possibly can. So get ready for lots of fabric, lots of food, and lots of theater, because I could have planned this for any weekend in September, but I carefully planned it to coincide with the Broadway Flea Market that's happening on Sunday. So hold on to your hats. We are gonna have a lot of fun. And now, I have to go because I had dinner plans, and then this morning I found out that I won the Wicked lottery for discount tickets tonight. So I'm gonna run out and grab some food at a very tasty looking happy hour place, and then we're gonna go to the Gershwin for 8 o'clock. Let's go. But first, let's jump back in time to a little earlier in the day. Thank goodness for luggage rooms at hotels, because it meant I could drop off my suitcase and get right into fabric shopping. First stop was obviously M&J, who still had quite a decent selection despite all the going out of business signs. If my budget were unlimited, I would have bought the entire store. Their ribbons are simply gorgeous. Then, because it was like 2:30 and I hadn't had lunch yet, I swung by the Joe's Pizza in Times Square for a quick slice. And yes, the proper way to eat a slice of New York pizza is to fold it. Appetite settled, I swung over to East Coast Trimming to admire their vintage ribbons. I never get tired of looking at beautiful things. I took a quick stop into Bekenstein purely to drool over their stunning wools. I was low-key hoping they'd still have the paisley silk that I saw last time, but my budget was grateful it wasn't there. Then I stopped in at Hamed Fabrics, which is probably my favorite shop in the garment district. It always feels like a cave of wonders, and I always come away with something nice. A quick stop into Fabrics Garden because it was right next door. I didn't buy anything here, but just look at all the shinies. Dinner was happy hour at Cathedral in the East Village. I got a couple oysters, mini lobster rolls, creme fraiche dip, and beef tartare, and everything was fantastic. And for $5 a plate, you can't beat the deal. Then it was a quick subway ride to the Gershwin Theater for Wicked. This is tied for my favorite musical, and I had crossed my fingers for cheap tickets. It wasn't looking likely, but I entered their daily lottery for cheap tickets and got the email just as my plane landed that I had won a ticket. You don't know until an hour before the show where you'll be sitting, but I ended up 5 rows from the stage. As always, it was a fantastic performance, and while it was an angled view, it was kind of fun to get to see into the wings a little and get a couple tiny glimpses of what goes on behind the scenes. It is Saturday morning and I am calling today my aesthetic dress-up day. So I am going for the full history bounding look with my hat that I bought last time and my new matching walking skirt that I made. And I am also doing a little bit of an experiment today. I actually am wearing my Victorian corset. Last time I was here, she was but a plan, now she's a reality. So we're gonna see how she holds up to a day in New York. I am going for a very aesthetic breakfast today. There's a place that does Parisian pastry breakfast with the classic Parisian hot chocolate. So that's our first stop. And then I'm hoping there's a bit of fall foliage in Central Park. So we're gonna go for a little walk about and then more fabric shopping. I started my outing with brunch at Angelina Paris, and it really does feel like a portal to France when you step inside. The Parisian breakfast was so tasty, but very rich, and the classic hot chocolate is like a drinkable chocolate bar with whipped cream. Then, because I needed either a walk or a nap, I hopped up to Central Park. While I had hoped the fall foliage would be a bit more colorful, it was still a gorgeously aesthetic stroll. Seriously, peak New York aesthetic right there. Straight out of a movie. One of these days I am going to take a trip here and stay long enough that I can actually spend an entire afternoon just chilling in Central Park, because this is fantastic. I love it. Oh, it's so relaxing. While I could happily have stayed longer, time was fleetly flying and there was still more fabric to be found. First up was Mood, and while going at lunchtime on a Saturday meant it was quite busy, it didn't feel crazy crowded and the checkout line moved quite fast. Then I did rapid-fire trips to AK Fabric, Fabric House, Swan Fabric, and 2 shops that I couldn't find the names of. Having a set shopping list makes it really easy to stay on budget and get through a bunch of stores, but it also means you may not end up buying as much as your brain thinks you should, if that makes any sense. Saturday dinner was at the Mermaid Inn in Chelsea, and I enjoyed their clam chowder so much, I bought a second one. And they have the cutest complimentary chocolate puddings for dessert. And when you happen to be in New York City on the 21st day of the month of September, there really is only one show you can see. The West Side is a small 250-seat theater, which really is ideal for a show like this. I bought a second row seat on sale, and it felt like you were part of the show. You were so close to the actors. This was a fantastic staging, and the cast was brilliant. I've listened to multiple cast recordings, and I've watched a few bootlegs on YouTube, and I think this was my favorite cast yet. Sunday, I was up bright and early because it was the annual Broadway Flea Market. This was my first time going, so other than pictures online, I had no idea what to expect. And it was busy. I've seen people online say it was the busiest year yet. It felt like Fan Expo Canada level crowds all along one block of 44th and 45th Street. But if you are a Broadway fan, there will be something there for you. Vendors are from current shows and theater-related organizations, and you can find anything from playbills to props, from cast gifts to costumes, and anything in between. A lot of people recommend going first thing in the morning to get the best items, taking a break in the afternoon, and then going back around 3:30, 4 o'clock to potentially snag some sweet discounts. And that's what I did. I grabbed a bite of lunch and a cream puff at Bibble and Sip, lounged around at the hotel for a couple of hours, and then went back as things were starting to wrap up. Dinner was Ichiran ramen, which was every bit as good as I remember, and then I had a quiet stroll back to the hotel and bed. Monday was the last day, and I didn't have to be at the airport until 3:20, so I crammed as much into my day as I could, starting with picking up some pastries from Angelina to take home for the family. The last fabric store on my list was New York Elegant Fabrics, and they definitely live up to the name. And while I found the perfect fabric for a future project, it was $50 a yard, and I need 8 yards, so it had to stay behind. I popped into a couple of other stores that hadn't been on my list before swinging down to Soho for cheesecake and makeup. Lastly, I swung up to Grand Central Station to grab lunch to go from Katagiri Japanese Market, which is the coolest little grocery bodega type place I've ever seen. They have everything: onigiri, ramen, a hot counter, fresh cuts of fish, and all the ingredients you'd want for Japanese cooking. I got a salmon onigiri and a mini chirashi bowl, which is a mix of tuna, mackerel, salmon, and tobiko on a bed of rice, for $15. And it was genuinely one of the best Japanese meals I've ever had. Everything was so fresh and flavorful, and the view in scenic Bryant Park made for the best way to cap off a trip. And I'm home. And tired. I'm so sleepy today, but I wanted to share my thoughts and treasures with all of you. So first of all, corset conclusions. What was it like wearing a Victorian corset all day in a place like New York? In a word, great. I put it on around 9:30 a.m. and wore it until about 11 p.m. Okay, I did take it off for about 90 minutes when I came back to the hotel for a midday break, but for all intents and purposes, it was the entire day. The biggest difference I noticed was that my back felt well supported all day. Usually if I'm doing a lot of walking or standing, my low back gets really cranky really easily. And I didn't notice that at all while wearing the corset. And I did notice it on the other days with a bra. I also noticed that my walking skirt sat more comfortably at my waist and didn't dig in like it's prone to without a corset. But I didn't feel winded, I did not pass out, I didn't feel short of breath, any more than my asthmatic self usually feels. I was able to go strolling around the park with ease, climb copious subway stairs, enjoy delicious food and drinks and a show, and clocked just over 13 kilometers of walking. And yes, I did wear a camisole underneath the corset. In fact, the only place where I had a little bit of chafing was under my arm where the camisole slipped down, and I couldn't quite reach to grab it. Again, I blame that on me, not the corset. The other side where the camisole stayed in place, there was no chafing in the slightest. I am also going to make a corset cover for the future, as you could just see the top of the outline at the bust line. So in conclusion to this experiment, well-fitting Victorian corsets, more comfortable and supportive than a bra, not restrictive, great for the back, highly recommend. So let's dive into the fabric haul. Firstly, M&J trimming. I got a full roll of jewelry cording because that is always useful. This purple and green shot pleated trim for $15, which I think will go well on a skirt of some kind. These 3 laces for an Edwardian lingerie dress next year. Fun fact, if you're gathering lace for a lingerie dress and you think you have enough, you don't. You just don't. So these will go nicely with what I already have, and hopefully now it'll be enough. I can't resist shiny, so I got, I believe, 3 yards of this silver trim. And for a future project, you're hearing it here first, I want to make Christine Daae's dressing gown with the corset that's underneath. So I picked up some gold braid for the vertical trim, and this stunning gold applique that I'm going to turn into the front detailing. From East Coast Trimming, I got another 2 yards of this cream lace, which for my fellow corset crafters is the same lace that Bernadette Banner used on her Victorian corset. I also couldn't resist getting 5 yards of this rich purple velvet trim and tiny flowers. I had to get tiny flowers. From Daytona Trimming, I got 5 yards each of these beautiful shiny ribbons. Not entirely sure where they'll be used, but they will be used well. From Mood, I got half a yard of rich green velvet for my Christine corset, which is absolutely stunning and so soft. And when I see a mystery bag of trims, I buy a mystery grab bag of trims. Some of these I have absolutely no clue what I'm going to do with, but I know it'll be something creative. And I got a cute bag too. This was either from AK Fabrics or Fabric House. I can't recall exactly which one, but I've wanted to make a piratical Killian Jones inspired vest to go with my black pirate shirt. And this red and black paisley is going to be perfect. And lastly, in the fabric department, I bought 2 yards of this lovely drapey satin from Hamed Fabrics. I have 2 fabrics in my stash set aside for waistcoats, and this fabric works with both of them, so that's going to be awesome. I did also get a swatch of that perfect silk. It would be exactly what I need for Christine's dressing gown, but right now, I just can't justify that price. But now I can take this swatch with me to other fabric stores and say, I'm looking for something like this. And hopefully I'll be able to find a rayon version or something that is actually doable for my small creator budget. And in the, I don't really need this right now, but I might need it for creative purposes down the road, and this is literally the only store I can get it from category, from MAC Cosmetics, specifically the store in Soho, I bought a chroma cake in landscape green. For those who don't know, this is the official Elphaba makeup. This is what they use for every actress in Wicked to make them green. And you can only get these at professional locations. What am I going to use this for? I don't know. Guess I'll have to add an Elphaba costume to my list of future projects. And finally, the flea market. As I said, it was extremely busy. I saw a lot of people online who had been coming for 4 to 10 years who said they've never seen it this crowded, which was oddly encouraging to hear that that level of crowd was abnormal. But yeah, it was a little anxiety inducing. There were booths that were 4 to 5 people deep, and thankfully everyone I talked to was nice, but there were other people who experienced shoving and people cutting in line multiple times. Now, I don't know the logistics of planning a big event like that in New York City, but I feel like having more room to maneuver would go a long way. There were definitely booths that I didn't get to see until near the end or skipped entirely simply because it was way too crowded. That said, I got some pretty sweet stuff. For generic goodies, I picked up some stickers for my water bottle, these awesome pins for the marquees of the Broadway shows that I've seen, and a ticket from this year's Tony Awards. I got a commemorative coin from Six the Musical, celebrating their first 2 years on Broadway. There was a surprising lack of Phantom merch, even though it is a closed show, but I grabbed 2 special playbills from their 10,000th performance and from their 30th anniversary. And as a closing 50% off deal, I got an armrest from the Majestic for $15. From Frozen the Musical, I got a cool backpack tote bag and t-shirt. These were both end of deal days at $5 a piece, and the luggage tag was free. And, oh yeah, I got a hoodie. This is apparently a hard to find hoodie and is super soft and comfy, and had the added bonus of confusing a guy in Times Square who thought I had a very odd looking dog in my tote bag. And finally, Wicked. Of course, I saved my favorite for last. You know, if I see a fabric from a production, I'm gonna buy it. I'm not sure what costume this brown one is from, but I love it, and it is rather hobbity. I think at least part of it will end up in my future patchwork housecoat. And of course, some organza from Glinda's bubble dress. And you know, Elfie, we can't be late to Wizamania. This is a stage-used prop from the One Short Day number, and I love it. Now, I passed on posters because I have no idea where I would put them, but dressing room signs are another thing entirely. These were selling for, I think it was $10 a piece, and I mean, who can resist Carol Kane? And this one is a personal one. Peter Scolari was the wizard when my dad and I went to see Wicked at the Gershwin for the first time, and it's the first time I've ever really seen my dad excited about a celebrity. We love Newhart in this house, and his portrayal of Michael was hilarious. So when we stage doored after the show, my dad complimented him on that work, and he was so genuinely touched, and he reached out to initiate the handshake. So when I saw this dressing sign, there was no question I was bringing it home. So there you have a whirlwind weekend in New York City. I absolutely love New York. There is no other place on earth like it. There's something about the hustle and the bustle, the rhythm and the flow of the city that is just magical. And you can't beat the food. My dad grew up in Queens, and all my life he has sung the praises of New York pizza, bagels, and cheesecake. And he's right. They are the best. As one lady put it, it's the water, the air, and the attitude. So if you're thinking of taking a trip to the city that never sleeps, I highly recommend it. Everyone should experience New York at least once in their lifetime. It will change your life. and it is equally enjoyable in a group, as a duo, or as a solo traveler. Most of my adventures have been on my own, and this weekend was just me traveling. Some people find that intimidating, but I love it. The freedom to make my own itinerary and set my own pace is freeing. Just keep your wits about you, leave a situation if it feels unsafe, be open to trying new things, keep a spirit of adventure, and the world is your oyster, my friend.